Hi there, and welcome back to the Aging Grace podcast. My name is Andrew Blake, your host, and if you're over 40 and you're feeling stiff, tight, or just not moving the way that you used to, then this episode is for you. We're going to cover a lot today, and today we're talking about mobility and flexibility, what they really mean, why they're crucial as we age, and how you can improve them to stay pain-free and active. Now, a lot of people think that stretching is the key, it's the cure, but I think the truth is that stretching alone isn't going to fix your mobility issues. It'll help, of course, but if you've ever thought I just need to stretch more and I'll feel better, but nothing changed, then stick with me because I'm going to explain why. By the end of today's episode, you're going to have a practical, daily plan to move better and feel better. So let's get into it. Now, I think starting off, I think it's really important for us to clear up the difference between mobility and flexibility. A lot of people use these terms interchangeably, and in my opinion, that's incorrect. Now, flexibility is essentially your muscle's ability to stretch. Think about touching your toes. If your hamstrings are tight, then you're not going to get very far. Mobility, on the other hand, is your ability to move your joints through a full range of motion with control. For example, being able to squat deep and stand back up without pain or stiffness. Now, I think the kicker is that, and what a lot of people don't necessarily understand, is that you can be flexible but still have poor mobility. If your muscles stretch easily but you don't have the strength to control your movement, then you're still putting yourself at risk for stiffness and injury. And I think this is really important for us to remember. Now, I think there's something else that a lot of people don't realize, and it's that mobility doesn't necessarily decline because of age itself. It declines because we stop using it. It's just like that old adage, and I've mentioned this time and time before. If you don't use it, then you lose it. And if you sit for long hours, your hips, your shoulders, and spine, they start to kind of seize up and lock up a little bit. But, and going off of that point, that's kind of one of the reasons why, if think about a long flight or a long train ride, you stand up and you're a little achy and you're tight until you kind of get moving again, right? But the good news is you can restore lost mobility with the right movements. So how do we actually improve? Well, I want to talk about 4 simple but effective ways. Now, the first way is going through daily mobility drills. Even something as simple as a 5-minute routine is going to help you to hopefully restore mobility. Think of mobility work like brushing your teeth. Small daily efforts that do add up to make a big difference. So I want to give you guys something that you can do and something that you can start doing. And one of the easiest ways to start implementing daily mobility drills is to simply go through controlled articular rotations. Now, that's a big scary word, but basically what that means is just moving your joints through their full range of motion daily, such as doing big arm circles, do 15 or 20 big arm circles going through your full range of motion. If you want to work more of your lower body stuff, then I encourage you to look up the drill, the 90-90 hip stretch, which is a powerful drill to improve hip rotation and overall movement quality. Now, once this podcast is done and it's all edited and all of that, I'm also going to be filming a 5-minute routine that you can do daily to help work through those daily mobility drills, something that you can follow along with at home so that you know exactly what to do and how to do it. And that's going to help you to both maintain and hopefully improve your mobility over time. Now, the second way that you can improve mobility and flexibility is something called strength through range. Now, instead of just stretching, it's strengthening through your full range of motion. Now, things such as deep goblet squats or sitting into a full squat helps to strengthen the hip mobility a little bit better than passive stretching. Reason being is, again, because we're both strengthening and working into that end range of motion. Now, if a deep goblet squat isn't possible for you for whatever reason, then you can get an assisted version where you're holding onto something such as a suspension trainer or a TRX, or even something as simple as, having a towel and wrapping it around a post in your house to, again, give you something to hold on to. I know it sounds very basic, but these little things really add up. And when we talk about longevity, A lot of the big impacts on our longevity and our health span are based off of those daily habits that you do each and every day. Now, the third part of improving mobility and flexibility is the recovery. Muscles and joints don't function well when they're dehydrated or inflamed. And so focusing on all those little things such as hydration, in order to allow your body to have the fluid it needs to kind of move smoothly, and hydrate all those different joints, your nutrition, and meaning including foods that help with anti-inflammatory properties, such as ensure you're eating enough omega-3s, berries, which have those antioxidants, leafy greens to help keep your joints pain-free. And of course, we can't talk about recovery if we don't talk about sleep. Now, most tissue repair happens overnight when you're not even awake. So if you're not sleeping well, your body isn't able to recover as effectively or as efficiently either. So these are all really important pieces. And the last part about improving mobility and flexibility that I want to cover today is foam rolling and something called myofascial release. Now, you've probably heard about foam rolling. You've probably seen it done with people either in the gym or on videos online. But foam rolling, it's got mixed evidence. But in my opinion, foam rolling can help to loosen tight areas. But it's kind of a little bit more of a short-term fix. I think it's really important for people who are involved with foam rolling to also follow it up with mobility work, in order to ensure that you're having real long-lasting improvements and not just kind of putting a Band-Aid on whatever issue or lack of mobility in whatever joint it is that's being affected. It's really important to dive deep into the root cause and not just slap a Band-Aid on it and call it a day. So in terms of some of the common myths and mistakes that I see when it comes to mobility and flexibility work, there's a couple really big ones that really jump out to me. And the first one is people who think that static stretching before workouts is going to help them to work into a deeper range of motion during the workouts. Now, I completely get where they're coming from. On paper, it seems like it makes sense, but there's enough evidence and there's enough studies, and in the fitness community, we kind of live by this a little bit more, where we know that static stretching before exercise can actually weaken the muscles temporarily. So it's really important that before your workouts, you're not doing the static stretching unless you've been told by a physio or another healthcare provider that you really need to focus on a specific part and that you need to stretch out that area. But before a workout itself, it's really important to warm up with dynamic movements. So dynamic movements simply means movements where you're moving. Lunges or arm swings or body weight squats. It's really important to have a full dynamic warm up in order to allow your body to gradually, increase body temperature, get the fluids moving, loosen up those different areas, and open up the different joints to allow you to both be able to do the workout more effectively, meaning that those muscles are going to be already activated and ready to fire, as well as, again, there's some evidence that suggests that having a full dynamic warm-up may or may not help to prevent things such as injuries as well. The second mistake that I see quite often is that thinking that more stretching equals more mobility. And if you always feel tight, then I don't really think stretching alone is going to fix it. Now, muscle weakness, not tightness, is often one of the contributors to it. I'm not saying that muscle weakness is the only contributor to it. Of course, if we're lacking flexibility, then that's also going to impact the way that our joints move and how they move during certain movements. But it's really important to look at mobility, not just from a lack of flexibility standpoint, but also from how can you strengthen those muscles that are involved in allowing you to do certain movements. Strengthening through full range movements is, in my opinion, what will help you to feel more mobile. There's a saying in the wellness community, and it's that proximal stability builds distal mobility. And I know that probably doesn't make a lot of sense, so I'm going to kind of break that down a little bit. Now, proximal simply means closer to the midline of the body, so to the center of the body. Distal means away from the body. So when we've got things such as a strong core, or the muscles that are close to the joints are strong, and that means that's going to help you to actually be more mobile with things such as your limbs, and moving your arms in space, and moving your legs in space. And so that's why I think it's really important for us to look at mobility not just as just flexibility, but also by how those different muscles that contribute to a certain movement affect the way that you move. So the last mistake that I see is ignoring pain signals. Now, pain is your body's way of telling you something is wrong. If a movement causes sharp pain, then we don't push through it. It's really important for you to figure out the root cause and to address it. And if your body is giving you pain during a certain movement, then again, there's probably something wrong, and it's probably best for you to rest it and not push through that movement. Either that, or going and getting it checked out if it's something that's lingering around and doesn't seem to be improving. I know that that's a lot of information that I just kind of put out here today, but let's sum it up. So I think the big key takeaways that everybody should be taking away from this message today and from this episode today is that mobility is different from flexibility. You need strength through a full range of motion, and not just loose muscles. Loose muscles, again, it's not going to contribute to a higher quality of life down the road to the same extent of having strength through a full range of motion, right? The second takeaway is that small daily mobility drills make a huge difference. Even 5 minutes a day consistently can have an impact on the way that you move and the way that you feel. And again, I'm going to create a video that has a 5-minute mobility full video that you can kind of follow through, that you can do daily, that is going to allow you to, again, be making one of those small changes that's going to have an impact on your health. So when that video is completed, just send me a DM on Instagram saying mobility, and I'll make sure that you get that video sent to you. And the last takeaway is that recovery is just as important as movement. Hydration, nutrition, sleep, all of these affect how well your body moves and how it repairs those different tissues that you're working. So again, if you want a simple follow along video to help you improve your mobility daily, I've got something just for you. DM me the word mobility on Instagram at @IamAndrewBlakey, and I'll send you a free video with an easy 5-minute routine that you can do every day. So if you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend who needs to hear it, and don't forget to follow us wherever you listen to your podcasts. Until next week, thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. This is The Aging Grace.